Well, hello, and so happy to be here. My name is Linda Rourke, and I'm a Mohawk College alumni, an alumni of distinction as well with the college, and I currently am the acting director for the Mohawk College Foundation. And it's always an honor to be part of these incredible events. And, we have a special place in our heart at the Foundation for Women in Technology and Trade. And this is, one way we get our message out there and bring lots of people together to talk about the important things that we need to know. So it's just really great today we can even come together to talk about finding your ideal workplace for today and beyond. What a great conversation to have. So you know what to expect. I'm just going to walk you through. We're going to have opening remarks from Mohawk College and RBC, and then an introduction of our panelists, which I will do. I'll introduce each of them to you. And then that'll lead into our discussion on our topic at hand, which of course is that ideal workplace for today and beyond. And then there'll be a chance for you to ask questions. So think about that as the conversation is going on. If you've got any questions, then you've got that opportunity at the end. And then there will also be a Padlet, and I'll walk us through how that works, but there'll be a link that'll be posted into the chat. And all you have to do is click on that link, and then you can put your comments in there. So and again, I'll walk you through that when we get to that point. And I also really want to acknowledge and thank our interpreters for supporting us this evening, Aaron Eldridge and Carrie Granfield. Thank you for being here and giving us that support through tonight's conversation. Recently, I wanted to talk about this. I had the pleasure of attending an online event for International Women's Day. And the keynote speaker was Buffy Sainte-Marie. Now, I hope you all know that name, but if you don't, it's okay. She's a Canadian icon in the music industry, and she's been a leader in Indigenous music and definitely a humanitarian. There was so much learning that transpired just listening to Buffy for about an hour or so, and I think it actually went a little longer than that. And I really believe that knowledge, education, is the key to understanding and a pathway to change. So as we acknowledge the land that Mohawk College is situated on, think about what that means to you. These are not just words that we want to read from a page. It is giving us all a connection to history. We are on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations, within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. And that's a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. And it is currently home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. I'd like to now introduce you to Elizabeth Fabbroni Martin. She is the Associate Dean of Electrical and Computer Engineering Technology. In prior roles, she was coordinator and professor for mechanical technology and mathematics. Elizabeth has been a WIT faculty member for the past 7 years and one of the WIT initiative leaders for the past 2 years. Before teaching at Mohawk, I'm not done. You got a lot for me to talk about and share. And I also do want to let everyone know that I'm going to pause and take some time as I go through this so that our wonderful interpreters are able to keep track of what I'm saying. I can't even imagine their jobs. So I will do my best to slow, because I was telling them off the top, I tend to be a fast talker. So back to Elizabeth. Before teaching at Mohawk, she served as Director of Operations for the Center of Surgical Invention and Innovation. She also has prior work experience in research and development for Intel Corporation as a process engineer, automation integrator, and business manager. She is also a textbook editor for Pearson Canada and holds educational designations in a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry from Boston College, a PhD in Materials Science and Engineering, Northwestern University, and a Business MBA, credible, UW Ivy School of Business. And I had to say all that because it's remarkable, and she's an incredible person. Elizabeth, over to you.
Well, thanks so much, Linda. I'm blushing a little bit. So thanks for that very generous welcome. It's been my distinct pleasure to work with WIT over the past 7 years. And over the past 2 years, I've seen so many great young women and faculty and community partners participate in the WIT initiative that we've had here. As we enter into today's event, I'd like us all to just take a pause and send our heartfelt condolences and support to those who are fighting for their freedom and independence in the Ukraine. At such a difficult time, it's important for us to remind ourselves how fleeting our freedoms can be and how not all societies value diversity in the way that our Canadian society does. We're very lucky to live in a time and an age where the future of work offers opportunities for everyone. And over the past 3 years, Mohawk College, in partnership with RBC, has been on a journey to ensure that more people know about these immense opportunities and the emerging job market that it entails. During COVID, we've been aware of exactly how effective different types of work have become. Some people working in spite of the new realities of our world, and others working entirely from home and everything in between. Working with kids and dogs and package deliveries certainly has added to the noise of everyday life. Yet through this experience, we've all grown stronger and more resilient and more prepared for the future ahead of us. Tonight serves as a chance for us to reflect on the past and to hear from some remarkable industry leaders about the ways they are helping to create workplaces that are intentional and supportive for their employees. Through their thoughts, we'll all take a pause and have room to consider what is needed in the changing world. And whether you are a student, staff member, or community partner, we hope you'll walk away from tonight with some ideas for what you want and need in your own career and examples that can aid you in defining your own journey ahead. WIT is also moving forward, and we're planning for our journey ahead. We're looking at what we've accomplished and defined on our path forward to ensure that the community that we've developed and the initiatives that we've had towards gender normative practices and technology and trades continues. And we're looking forward to working with our community ecosystem partners, current students, alumni, everyone in between, to make sure that that path forward is even brighter and more inclusive and more flexible to the need of the modern workforce. This month is National Engineering Month, and a few days ago, we also celebrated National Women's Day. And as we celebrate the benefits of constructive problem solving and the contributions that people of all gender identities bring to technology and the trades, I'm grateful for the women and gender diverse persons who have come before me. They have helped to make my career trajectory possible. And in turn, we're looking forward to making similar contributions to those who will follow us. And I have to give pause and consider the reality of what the actions of the panelists who we have tonight have already done for people who are seeking their career trajectories. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for attending and invite Linda to take over for the amazing program we have planned for you for this evening. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Really wonderful words there. And, you know, we can't make events like this possible without the support of our community, and especially the ongoing support that we've received from RBC. Please join me in welcoming Maria Holland, who is the Community Manager of Personal and Commercial Banking for RBC, downtown Hamilton. Now, I'll give you a little more detail and in the introduction in just a moment, because she is also on our panel this evening. Maria?
Thank you so much, Linda, for that wonderful and warm introduction. Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, I am the community manager at RBC here in Hamilton downtown community. I've had the privilege of being in the financial industry for over 25 years, the last 14 years spent with RBC in a number of senior roles. In my current role as a community manager, I have the fantastic privilege of working with some great leaders, operational, client-facing financial advisors in the personal and commercial banking space. But what I'm extremely excited about is being a part of this evening's event, as I too am a Mohawk College alumni. And I won't say from what era, because I don't want to quite age myself, but I'm so pleased that Mohawk College remains a great anchor pillar in our community, continuing to offer such innovative programs and community partnerships, equipping their students to be future ready. I'm very thrilled to be here virtually with you today to celebrate the long time partnership RBC has had with Mohawk College, and to recognize and celebrate the commitment, determination, and achievement of all the students participating in the Women in Technology and Trades program. Canada is facing a critical shortage of skilled tradespeople. According to Stats Canada, in 2019, women in trade made up just 11% of new registrants for apprenticeship programs, and they continue to represent less than 4% of workers in the most in-demand trades. With a looming shortage of skilled trade workers, many industries have realized it's time to get past the stereotypes and employ a more diverse workforce. Closing the gap between the supply of skilled tradespeople and the growing demand will mean addressing some of the core challenges, including recruiting from unrepresented groups and battling outdated biases. And that's on top of preparing the next generation of tradespeople for a more digital and agile future. Canada's potential to thrive in a greener, more innovative, and technologically advanced post-pandemic economy depends on its skilled tradespeople. Recruiting and equipping them to succeed in this new landscape will depend on the cooperation of the industry, the educators, and the policymakers. The WITT program is exceptional and continues to demonstrate its profound impact on its students, regardless of their gender, ensuring that you have a meaningful networking opportunities, mentoring and coaching resources, and career exploration options that will lead you to a path of success with minimal obstacles standing in your way. We are so proud of our investment in the WITT program because it enables more women to access opportunities to build their experience in trades and technology. As Elizabeth previously mentioned, we celebrated International Women's Day earlier this week. We recognize the incredible achievements of women across the world, but we also want to recognize that there is still some work to do in creating gender equality and equal opportunity. According to a survey done by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, only 2% of 15-year-old students indicated that they definitely were planning to pursue a career in the skilled trades. The more we eliminate barriers and increase opportunities for women in skilled trades and technology, the more we can inspire the next generation of young girls to automatically consider a future career in these very critical fields. On behalf of all my colleagues at RBC, congratulations to all of the recipients today. It is clear that you represent the best of the best here at Mohawk, and the WITT program. We are honored to be a part of your journey here at Mohawk and know that the future is bright for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your time. Back over to you, Linda.
Thanks, Maria. Yeah, and I was just thinking as you were speaking there, and that we're still virtual, and the pros and cons, right? I call some of these things pandemic pros, where people can join in from anywhere to be part of the conversation. But then there's also that lovely connection we all have when we're together, and I really do look forward to that, especially the networking, right, where you have the opportunity after an event to be able to speak to each other. And we'll do our best to engage you with that part of it when we come to the question and answer period. But what a panel we have tonight. So I'll start with Maria, who's had the pleasure, as she mentioned, of working in the financial industry for over 25 years, and the past 13 spent with RBC, leading teams on a national level. And her passion is to make a difference in the lives of employees and clients by delivering an exceptional client experience, capturing market opportunities, and delivering strong business performance. Maria is actively involved in both internal and external diversity, inclusion, mentorship, and newcomer initiatives. Lindsay Anderson is the Director of Human Resources at Stelco. She is an HR leader with over 10 years of experience working in heavy industry. She holds a Bachelor of Commerce from the University of Guelph and has held senior roles at Kirkland Lake Gold and New Gold. Lindsay is a strong advocate for women everywhere, but especially in the workplace. Her areas of expertise include employee relations, leadership development, recruitment, and employee engagement. Marcy Bastien is Human Resources Business Partner at L3 Harris's WESCAM division. Marcy is the single point of contact for all facets of HR for her internal client group. Leadership consulting and employee relations are her key responsibilities. And prior to joining L3 Harris, Marcy spent 2 years as an HR business partner with Siemens and held multiple roles in HR, sales, and service delivery in her more than 21-year tenure with Hewlett Packard. Marcy studied HR management at Mohawk College, another grad, yes, and received a legal assistant diploma from Cambrian College. She enjoys golf. Golf season is pretty much here. I think some golf, they're open now, like exciting, first sign of spring, and enjoys reading and cooking. And Andrea Peckart is Vice President, Homeowners Relations of Branthaven Homes, which is a family-owned company celebrating 50 years of home building excellence, delivering master plan communities, single-family homes, townhomes, condos, and luxury rental residences. Through Andrea's 35 years at Branthaven, she has held many positions, I should say, starting as construction laborer, progressing through project coordinator, site supervisor, sales, design, warranty and exterior architecture, and ultimately leading to vice president, homeowner relations. She oversees all aspects of the business involving Branthaven's home buyers. Jim Mallett is president and CEO of Paradigm Transportation. He has 32 years of professional practice in technology-based transportation planning. He has designed, developed, and refined numerous demand forecasting models and applied them to assist in preparing long-range master plans, environmental forecasting models, and applied them to assist, I said that already, in environmental assessment studies and large-scale community or secondary area plans for several major communities in Canada. In addition, he has extensive traffic operations experience and carries a professional traffic operations engineer designation, of which there are about 157 practicing professionals in Canada and 47 in Ontario. He is the leader of Paradigm's development team, creating transportation technology applications. It's always fun when you're running your own teleprompter. It just went back on its own, and so I repeated a line. But we just go for it, right? You can always have fun with our technology ups and downs. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to see the number of people here tonight, and it's so great that you could join us. So we're going to go into the question period, and I will. What happens here is I'll pose a question, And for the first few questions, any of you, meaning the panelists, can jump in and open up that discussion. And then when I call, if that doesn't happen, I will actually call on someone to start the conversation. It's just to get the conversation started. So and then the remaining questions I'll actually address to someone specifically. So let's start with, how would you explain your company's culture in 2 minutes? And then what role does your company's vision play in creating an ideal workplace? So you can start off with that bit of background on your company's culture and then get into the vision that your company plays in creating the ideal workplace. This is where I like to have the music. I
will jump in.
Awesome, Andrea. Thank you.
So I just want to say I didn't go to Mohawk, but my son did. He graduated from construction engineering technician down at the Stony Creek campus, and then he went on to architecture, and he's just about finished the architecture program. So we're very excited because it means probably he can come into the family business. So
Fantastic.
Branthaven Homes started as a family business 50 years ago. We started with 6 people, and we're now a medium-sized home building company employing 80 plus people. Born from the heart of a family business, it has a more collaborative, supportive, respectful, and approachable culture. Employees don't feel like a number in a big corporate structure. Instead, the team members work very hard to push each other to achieve their shared company goals and objectives. Our company vision and mission are entwined. Our vision, striving to remain a top builder by continually improving and evolving while fulfilling our mission of creating homes and communities of superior quality and timeless design built with integrity by the Branthaven family. We do this by being customer focused and value driven. We try to think of our customers as people we know. Throughout the design build the process, if this was my mom or my kids or my friends, what would they need? What would they want? How would they like to be responded to? I say to guys on the site when they go, oh, just tell them this. I say, okay, it's your mom. Is that what I'm telling your mom? They go, okay, no, say it this way. So we have to balance that with decisions made to achieve the best value for customers. We sum it up in saying we want to provide the best built home at any price.
Thank you, Andrea. Marcy or Lindsay, Jim, Maria, anything you want to add to this one? And
I'll jump in.
Marcy, perfect.
I'll jump in. Yeah. So L3 Harris WESCAM's division was actually born as a small entrepreneurial firm as well, out of the Westinghouse world in downtown Hamilton. Since then, it has grown, and just to use Andrea's words, it has become a corporate monster. In the last, I'll say 5 years, it's doubled in size in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. So right now we're at about 1,300-ish employees. I would say slightly around half of those people have been with us for less than 5 years. So from a culture standpoint, it's shifted quite a bit. It's shifted from this small entrepreneurial type firm to a large corporation that has really significantly grown. But what that has brought with it is our firm commitment and daily demonstration of our core values. And those core values are integrity, respect, and excellence. Really, I think of it as how we behave as individuals every day at work, how we treat other people, and how we serve our customers, which is really the primary, the primary reason we're there. We are an engineering and technology firm in the aerospace and defense industry. So really value diversity. And when I was listening to Maria talk in her introduction, the whole trying to encourage women to get into the engineering, into the STEM fields is really something that we're striving desperately to do, to get people to come and join our team as female engineers, female mechanical technicians, electrical technicians, as well as your traditional support functions like HR, like finance. IT as an example. So that's how I would describe our culture. It's evolving as we're growing, but as we're growing locally, and we're trying to really invest in a diverse workforce.
Thank you. Lindsay, how about
Sure.
give us the perspective from Stelco these days.
Yeah, a lot of people know Stelco, but I'll give my perspective. So our culture is one of innovation, perseverance, and resiliency. As a company, a lot of what we've gone through is played out in the media. So, 2 world wars, numerous recessions, bankruptcy protection, changing of ownership. And despite all of these challenges, our workforce has always risen to the occasion. We always deliver results to our customers, but always giving back to our community while we do that. So our vision of innovation, customer service, and environmental responsibility helps us to create an ideal workplace by giving context to our work. So what that means is we want to innovate so that we're creating products that not only allow us as a business to be successful, but we're creating products that are stronger, more economical, more environmentally friendly, and advance our society. We want strong customer service so we can deliver a variety of products that are used in all areas of our life, whether it's the pipelines that carry the necessary utilities to our homes for heat, the railroad tracks that bring you into Toronto's Union Station, or on a part that's used in your family car. And we recognize that our environment is the foundation on which our collective wellness and our future success is built. So we're always committed to making sure that our practices are as environmentally friendly as possible. We're a proudly Canadian steelmaker, where the steel is made by Canadians for Canadians. And so our vision creates that ideal workplace by helping our employees to recognize that the value is creating products that contribute to something that's bigger than ourselves.
Thank you. Jim, what's the culture of your company and that vision of creating that ideal workplace?
Thank you. So if I could take a second to talk a little bit about Paradigm, and then I'll just jump into that. So we're a professional engineering consulting group. We specialize in transportation planning and traffic engineering. In its simplest form, I like to say we play real life SimCity. So that's our job. We've grown again from much like Andrea's story. We've grown from a very small number. We started off with 3 partners 24 years ago, and we now have 30 professional staff and 3 support staff. So we're getting up there. In terms of our corporate culture, we've tried to retain our roots in the notion of a small, tight-knit group. So we like to say we operate like a family. We try and support each other in every way possible. We celebrate individual and mutual success. We make a point of making sure that we make a big deal out of every little win that we can. We encourage each other to grow and expand our skill sets, and we truly do value each other as members of the team. And part of the way we do that is encouraging a high amount of social interaction. We do operate our company virtually. We have since the beginning, and so we've got 24 years under our belts and how to operate in this kind of a world. So we've got a good handle on how to interact socially, and we do that both informally through coffee shop meetings. I say Tim Hortons has a lot of boardrooms, and we also do it through formalized corporate events. About 7 years ago or so, when our founding partner retired, we took the opportunity to sort of take stock of where we were in as a company and where we wanted to go. And we established, we went through a mission, vision, value process, and we established a new mission statement. And we help our partners to implement transportation solutions that leave our world better than we found it. And we try and entrench that in pretty much everything we do. We believe in it so much, we put it on the wall in our office to remind us every day that that's what our job is. And enclosed in that vision, or enclosed in the mission statement is 5 vision pillars, and they rely on people, productivity, premier, planet, and partners. And then within each one, we have a vision statement. For example, under people, is to be a great place to work where people feel inspired to be the best they can be, take responsibility for what they do, and feel like they're family. So we've incorporated that notion of family right into our vision statements. Our strategic plan is built on the 5 pillars. So every quarter we review the objectives in the strat plan that are set under each of the 5 pillars and try and hold ourselves accountable to making sure we're living out the plan. So I'll stop there. We can talk too long.
Just had to get myself off mute. No, and some really great points there. I hope we have time to come back to that social setting, Jim, because you said you've got that long history. It's not just been the last couple of years in the sense of that virtual environment, but then how do we socially connect? Because I think this is really important moving forward, is figuring out how we're going to engage with employees if it remains for many people a virtual world in business. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that down the road. Maria, do you have anything to add to this particular question?
Very, very great insight. The one common thread that I can certainly relate to from RBC's perspective is that we continue to evolve. And the reality is RBC, the bank, is over 150 years old. And we continue to evolve. They've got over 86,000 employees and service over 16 million clients, but we continue to transform and grow. The collective ambition at RBC is a compass, and it provides the direction and the reason why we even exist as an entity. Our purpose is to help clients thrive and communities prosper. That's our core purpose. Our value is to be the client's first choice, to be a collaborative, accountable firm with a huge focus on diversity, inclusion, and integrity. Our goal is to win as one RBC by providing exceptional client experience, seeking out the best top talent, simplifying our processes, being agile and innovative. Our focus, another key focus, is really supporting our community and having great social impact. So from a worldwide perspective, we want to be on the front lines, supporting and making sure that we're truly engaged and supporting citizens, locally and of the world. The brand promise for RBC is to use the power of imagination and insight to improve human experiences. And I'll just finally say that there's a huge culture and fostering of diversity and inclusion. When you walk in the hallways, and we haven't been walking in the hallways for years now, but I guess if you look on our WebExes and whatnot, it's a true reflection of diversity and inclusivity. They truly do care about the personal well-being of their clients, their employees, and the community, and value diversity of thought and talent. One of the things that they've really amped up over the last couple of years is what we call ERG groups, or employee relation groups, that are employee-led group, and all about diversity and inclusion initiatives. And it really helps us keep that focus and integrity on being culturally aware, sensitive, and inclusive. And it's really impacted our employee engagement greatly. So excited about our level of focus, and the culture is most definitely evolving into a more diverse and inclusive workplace.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying, listening to each of you talk about the culture of your companies, and making them inviting places to work and finding ways to retain employees as well. And I'm impressed with how long many of you have been with your current company. I just read recently an article that, states the average graduate coming out of college university now will have up to 15 different jobs and or careers through their lifetime, right? That used to be unheard of. You'd stay 15, 20, 30 years with the same company. And in the last couple of years, I think has been a real eye opener for employers and employees as to, you know, how to stay connected with your core group of people and keep them wanting to work for you. And especially now that it's opened up that you can almost, you know, you can work with for some companies from just about anywhere. So the next question will be like how, you know, your company has managed to maintain that engagement with your employees during the past couple of years when you're not walking the halls, as you mentioned there, Maria. And so much of it is like what we're experiencing tonight. And I open that up to any of you who want to start the conversation.
I'll go ahead, Linda. It's Marcy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so COVID obviously presented, as you mentioned, and everyone has mentioned, a significant challenge. But as a company deemed to be an essential service, L3Harris really had to, you know, maintain a mix of on-site and remote employees. So we had, you know, a couple of hundred people at work every day for the past, you know, 2+ years. But 2021 was also a really exciting year for us. For those of you who are familiar with the Waterdown area, we recently combined 2 of our local facilities into one brand new large behemoth of a building at the corners of Highway 5 and 6. So that was a huge project. We did not bring in external consultants and external project teams to facilitate this move. We did it all with our internal staff and you know, different people taking on different work streams to lead the move. It had the potential to be disastrous on many fronts because at the same time as we were preparing to move, we were delivering product and building product and serving our customers. So the fact that it didn't fall apart and we didn't miss a delivery, I think speaks volumes to the engagement and commitment of our entire workforce. We're now in a shiny new building with beautiful views overlooking Lake Ontario and the city of downtown Hamilton. But that project allowed us to maintain regular touch points with our employees. So we involved them and we engaged them on decisions about the new building. So for example, we put out color palettes and had people, you know, vote on the different color palettes for the interior of the building. We were choosing a food services provider for our cafeteria. We had different food service providers from across the industry during COVID come and present us with food options. We put a team together and we did food sampling. One very creative food services provider brought a food truck in and served us food from outside the building. So our employees were engaged in those kinds of decision makings. For those employees who weren't able to be in the building during COVID, we maintained some of the same initiatives that we did before the pandemic. So quarterly town hall meetings where the entire workforce got together. In this case, we would do something like this, you know, Zoom more so than in person, but we maintained those all hands meetings so people could hear how the business was going, have their opportunity to ask questions. Throughout the last 2 years, we made sure that we didn't lose sight of those people who were working remotely. I think that was really important. You know, you can now be sitting in your kitchen doing your work, but you need to maintain that connection with your peers and your supervisor. And then individual managers, I think, made a concerted effort to maintain a connection and to make sure that their teams stayed connected to each other. So I think that all of those things combined for L3Harris was one of the ways that we maintained engagement over the last couple of years.
Thanks, Marcy. And Andrea, I look to you next too, because you know you're in a business where I think for the most part we're working through everything, and so from that perspective, not a lot changed. But how was that for the employees and for you being able to engage and keep employees? Because I know your industry is challenged as it is. So let's talk about that, because it sounds like you've got such a great culture there. So let's get people excited about that.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't believe it's been 2 years since we sent out our message asking our staff to take some temporary measures to deal with the pandemic. Who knew how long the temporary measures would last, and that we would keep morphing and changing them constantly. We started out with not being deemed essential. Initially, we were allowed to sort of start to shut down things. Then they turned us into essential. But we had to, anybody who could work from home had to. So we started with a culture of 3/4 of the office was moving to home. There was chairs going out the door and computers and everything. And the skeleton crew had to still run the office because things come and go, invoices, everything. But the job site cannot work from home. They can't build somebody's house from their own home. So you had to be conscientious of the fact that they were putting their safety on the line every day, with other trades coming in and setting up how we would protect people, and constantly, adapting to what's new coming out. So we created a COVID team focused on safety, productivity, and employee engagement to review every update from the government, decipher how it affected the company, how it affected our policies, and make it into an approachable message that answered the staff's questions. Our safety manager he's got an awesome sense of humor, and he would always just inject that little bit into the messages, and people would go, okay. And he'd create charts of, if you have this symptoms, or if your family has this, but you don't have symptoms, then it goes to here and here. But somehow he made it understandable, which was great. We kept our social committee working, even from not being here in the office. So to have interaction and events that fit within the COVID guidelines. Things like, we changed the family Christmas party to baskets delivered to their homes with toys for the kids, a family game to play, and a gingerbread kit so that they could compete in the gingerbread home building contest. And we had the greatest pictures. Some people say it's our best family Christmas party. So we implemented regular online Teams meetings. So for each department and for interdepartments, where we could get work done, but also have a bit of time to chat about our lives, working from home, COVID fears, challenges. And we even had a virtual Christmas party. We had lunch delivered to everybody's desks wherever they were, and we played an online game of Family Feud. So some things worked fantastically, some didn't, but in general, nobody felt hanging out there not sure what was going on. So.
Well, that communication piece is so important, right? That you get that out to your employees, and that balance, as you said, between those that had to go into work every day and those that were, asked to go and work from home. It sounds like you work that balance really well.
And it's hard because, some people are like, well, why don't I get to just work from my home? And others are like, yes, but I'm, bringing my whole business into my home, and my family has to deal with the fact that I'm working in among them, and my kids are doing homework and this and that, sometimes I wish I was on the job site with you, So.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and definitely when you hear that, I mean, it became a bit of an HR nightmare for some companies because of that, those that had to be on location, those that didn't, and then, is that fair? Lindsay, do you have some perspective on this one, from such a big company perspective and that employee engagement, and did much even change at Stelco?
Yeah, honestly, we're very similar to everyone else that spoke so far. We were in the unique position of requiring boots on the ground because can't make steel without people being physically at work. And so the vast majority of our employees were there. But we did, to try and limit the amount of contacts that people had, we did have people work from home. So we tried to make sure that they were well set up and given everything that they needed to be successful there. And it was a lot of extra effort just to ensure that the communication was the same between both of those groups. Initially there was a lot of fear. Nobody really knew what was going on. So making sure that we kept in constant communication was critical, especially initially. And so we made sure that we stayed in contact. We would have either updates through email, meetings in person if people needed to, with social distancing, of course, but bulletin boards, we would put lots of postings up on there about any changes. The union was instrumental in helping us make sure that we were getting that information out. But much like the other groups as well, we tried to make things fun too, because as much as, like I said, there was the fear going on, we wanted to have people have an opportunity to kind of step away. So especially around Christmas time, we held an online bingo for anyone that was working, whether it was at home or in the plant. And that was a big success for us. So we did a few rounds of those, but then also, like I talked about earlier, our employees are very committed to our communities. And so we still did hampers and baskets for families in need. And so that was a nice thing for a lot of our employees to contribute to. That was, a bit bigger and took their mind off of some of their own issues when you've got someone else that you can help out. So it was really great to see our employees come together for that perspective, and that allowed some engagement in a different way.
Some really creative ways to engage, and I think that's again something positive that's come out of all this is being a little more creative as to how we connect and in various companies and engage those employees. Jim, do you have some comments to add here as well?
Yeah, I do actually. So I guess first I would say, we work remotely to begin with, so the notion of transporting the office to home and all of the technological issues that many people were forced to deal with, we had already solved to a large degree. But that being said, the external impacts of the COVID situation on people's mental health and their well-being, that was the same for us as everyone else. So we tried to do a couple of things, and it's going to echo a lot of what others had said. But the first principle that we landed on was to keep people informed to the maximum extent we could. So we kind of took this philosophy of oversharing. Whenever we found out something, and whenever there was something that felt like it was the least bit relevant, we were on a mission to make sure that everyone was well aware of what was going on. Because particularly early on, when there was some doubt as to the state of the economy and how things were going to unfold and what that meant for our business, we went out of our way to make sure that we were communicating what we saw and foresaw, so that people could at least know that the business side of things was being taken care of. So some of the things we did was we had monthly town hall meetings, much like others have done, where we communicated as much as we could about the business and about the state of the COVID as we saw it and how it was affecting us. We established weekly direct reports meetings. So every week, people were assigned to each other to talk to each other, make sure that everyone was checking in and making sure everyone was okay, that I'm okay, you're okay kind of philosophy. We also established for the directors of the corporation, we always have a virtual open door policy, but we established free time in our calendar that said Monday, Wednesday, Fridays from this time, I'm accessible. If you have any questions, concerns about anything, reach out. Doesn't matter what it is, topic, even if you want to talk about personal life, it's fine. On the social side, we've committed to always having social events with our team when we can get together, but we flipped those to virtual. So we did a lot of what people said, Family Feud, euchre tournaments, all kinds of different things. We actually had mixology one evening, and we had a group come in and teach us how to make a few different drinks. Our Christmas party, we hired chef upstairs from Toronto, and same idea. You set a set menu, except you cooked your own Christmas meal, and then we sat around and ate and had a glass of wine. So that was kind of fun. And we also had a gingerbread house contest. We tried to turn some of the constraints into opportunities. So we actually had everybody in the team put in designs. So we had a design contest for masks, and everyone voted on it, and we ordered a bunch of masks from the designs that people made. And the last thing that we did was to try and help folks out. We had a little more flexibility, even though we work remotely. We tried to be more flexible in this idea of work from anywhere. So if you had a cottage and you wanted to spend 2 weeks at the cottage working, just go and no questions asked. So those are some of the things that we did.
I love to hear that, you know, and these are the stories that we need to hear of you know, what companies have been doing to engage employees, because it's really remarkable. And so many of you you had to change so quickly and so fast, because none of us, you know, were expecting this almost 2 years ago tomorrow, when we were, you know, told by WHO what was going on, and most of us were sent home. So, you know, it's really amazing that you pivoted so quickly and have come up with these creative ways to connect to your employees. Maria, did you want to add to this before we move on to that?
Sure, I don't mind. I mean, as everyone has previously said, the pandemic has definitely brought on some interesting challenges for us. With RBC, okay, so we're a bank, and there are some roles that were deemed essential. Like, for instance, the bank branches never closed. So they were always in play. Our cash depot and offices that, you know, generate and create the cash for all the ATM, you know, machines across Canada never stopped working. They were always, like many of you, like Stelco, you can't make steel at home, you can't build homes at home, can't make cash or really count it at home. Well, probably not a good idea. In any event, so what that did, it created a lot of family, mental health, childcare challenges, issues. We all, I'm sure, experienced some level of the school shutdowns where the kids are working from home, doing school from home, we're working from home, and it was mayhem many days, and that really impacted the mental health. So we had a big focus on mental health strategies. We increased our mental wellness program offerings, including workshops, gym memberships, and a number of other subsidized costs that promoted, you know, family time, outings, and experiences. The other thing RBC did that I was quite proud of is they offered 10 family days a year to help people offset, you know, the mental stress and anguish, you know, whether from working from home, if your role was that, or that of the front line. They also offered some, on a temporary basis, they offered some subsidy for folks who were deemed essential workers who had childcare costs. They were subsidizing that cost for some time. Not quite sure that they're still doing it, but they had offered that throughout the pandemic. So that was something very new and innovative on their part, and very much appreciated, and got great feedback from the employees, with that being a symbolism and direct sign of RBC truly caring about the well-being and engagement of their employees. One of the things we instituted was a digital quarterly pulse check. So just surveys, you know, and they got to give feedback on present state of mind, but they also got to give the opportunity, have the opportunity to share, you know, knowledge and feedback and insight of ways in which they, you know, thought that we could run our business better. One of the things that started that increased a lot of the engagement was our senior executives having Ask Me Anything sessions, and with the use of the Slido tool, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, where you can ask questions, whether directly or anonymously. But that was a huge presence, and really impacted the employee engagement, because they felt that they had a forum by which they were heard, but also had the opportunity to share concerns, feedback, and you know, their experiences. So that is something that remains in play today. And I think that has really helped a lot with the employee engagement, because they have multiple forums and avenues by which they can be heard and have a voice. and feel safe to speak up during these times. So I think we had some good areas of success in that regards, and it really impacted the engagement scores. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's as I said, it's that pivot that everyone has taken at these companies. It's amazing. And now a lot of these things I think are just pieces that are so great for employees moving forward, because they'll stay. They'll stay intact, and we've changed our ways because of COVID and the pandemic and how it's affected all of us. So there's one last question for all of you, and then we'll go into some more specific questions that I'll direct it at each of you. And this last one talks about the workplace. Has the workplace culture changed over the past decade? And then the second part of that, and has what's changed over the last 2 years. So you can talk about just the last decade and the changes, and then maybe the acceleration of the last 2 years, and either part or answer to both of those questions. And we'll go around, as I said, to the entire panel for this one, and then we'll get into some more specific questions. So whoever would like to start this one off, by all means.
I'll start this one this time.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, Maria, my mother-in-law actually works at RBC, and she's a bank teller. So I've heard about a lot of the initiatives that you had. And one of the ones that you didn't mention that she really appreciated was there was hazard pay at the beginning of the pandemic for people that were going in. Mm-hmm. And that was, I know, very appreciated. So good job for that.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. So, back to Stelco, but our workforce has been through a lot over the last 10 years. I mentioned that a bit earlier, but in 2007, we were purchased by US Steel. So we became an American company. We were a Canadian subsidiary. And then we eventually went into CCAA, which is bankruptcy protection. So there was a lot of uncertainty for a long period of time. But by 2017, we emerged as the new Stelco, and we're back to being a Canadian company, which we're all very proud of. And then over the last 2 years, again, our operation was nonstop. And actually, we had one of our best years ever last year. So it's one thing that we want to celebrate our employees for, because they came in, they did the work day after day, even though they were afraid or having to work with, kids were at home. There was a lot that it took for them to do that. And I think one thing about our culture that is usually understated is our commitment to our communities. I know I've touched on it before, but we're a unionized workforce, and that's something that they really take pride in. And so one of the things that we were particularly proud of over the last 2 years is what we've done for our communities. So one of the big things is every year we do a gate collection at our Lake Erie plant and our Hamilton plant. And last year was our highest amount ever that we donated. So the Salvation Army, just from gate collections from employees, contractors, it was a $25,000 donation to the Simcoe Salvation Army, and then a $10,000 donation for the Hamilton Food Share. So as much as I think, times have changed, our culture hasn't, probably over the last 10 years or throughout the pandemic, but rather it's reinforced our culture of resiliency and ingenuity. So steelmaking is not for the faint of heart. And I think the dedication of our employees to change with the times and create new opportunities is something that we always want to celebrate.
Thank you. Great perspective. And I love that, that there hasn't been that change. It's enhanced it. It's really a great message to hear. Anyone else on this one?
Past 10 years, we've continued to shift from a small builder to a large builder. So, but we have a third of our staff has worked for us longer than 10 years. So we have a good core, strong group that, each new person that comes in can get guidance from. But with becoming so much bigger, there's an increased need for accountability. Who's doing what, who's responsible for what, and things not falling in between people or two people doing them, and strong planning strategies. So it used to be, just the first few people would hear about a new project coming on and you wouldn't hear about it till it hits your department later. We now have a strong planning where you can see what's coming 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the pipe, and have an idea how it fits into our whole thing and know when I got to be thinking about it and that. And so it's good. It's come along a long way, and it also is an incredible sort of sense of job security, because there's that project and then that project to do and then that project. So people are never afraid that we're going to run out of work. You know, there's always more work. So the last 2 years, a lot of the last 2 years was focused on how to provide our essential business of building homes during COVID. We still had to meet all our closings. We still had to basically move all our projects forward so that we could sell the next houses and the next and build the next houses for the next people. So many new things had to be tried: working from home, virtual meetings, virtual sales and selections. Some things will stay, some we will morph a little, or they'll be gone. But for a while, we're probably going to work with hybrid work from office and work from home. We ask our people to be in 3 days a week, the center 3 days of the week, so that we can have good collaboration. People can get everything done. But Monday and Friday, if they choose to, they can work from home. So things like snowstorms, nobody has to come in on a snowstorm anymore. Just get to, you know, start your work. You don't have to get into and sit in traffic, you know. Virtual meetings with out of office consultants, that's going to stay. I mean, not driving to Toronto, 5 people for a meeting, great time savings, you know. We found sales and selections are better done in person. It's really tough. But for someone who's out of the country or immune compromised, can't come to your sales office, we can now serve them as well. So it's amazing. The last 2 years moved things forward, but also made us appreciate some of the things that we had before that were off limits during the pandemic. So, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else on this question? As I said, you're all welcome to give your perspective, but you know, we can also move on to sort of the one-off questions if you like. So just let me know, and we're good. All right. Well, one of the things that I think we hear a lot about is our you know, new workers into the workforce, or people, you know, who haven't worked in an environment, a big company environment. What about the soft skills? Are we going to lose that because this is how we communicate so often now? Might be email, texting, a Zoom call, but you don't necessarily see someone, you know, because we don't have to necessarily have our cameras on. So what about those soft skills? So Marcy, I'm going to direct this one at you and ask that question. What soft skills do you feel are really important for people to have?
Thanks, Linda. And I love this question. I was glad I got this question. I'm the mom of 2 20-something daughters who are just entering the workforce themselves. So I often find myself coaching them on the soft skills that they'll need. I mean, they've got the skills they need to do the job, obviously, from their education. But I try and coach them as they head out on job interviews around what kind of soft skills to employ. I encourage them to actively participate and verbally communicate without being overpowering and obnoxious. I think that's my mom word too. Don't be obnoxious. But one of my favorite soft skills is interpersonal skills. I really think you need to build relationships in order to succeed. So even if your job is to sit alone at a workstation and build something and turn screws every day, you still need to use your relationship building skills at some point throughout your career, whether it's having conversations with your boss or preparing to, you know, advance your career. You really need to work on those interpersonal relationship skills. I also think listening is one of the most important skills, demonstrating emotional intelligence. So the ability to really actively listen is very difficult. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of it myself, I try to practice this, and I wish I would have learned this earlier on in my career. A lot of times you can be staring at someone while they're speaking to you, but thinking about something completely different and not really listening to them. So I try to encourage active listening, make eye contact, and take a pause before you respond so that you can keep your own emotions in check and consider the emotions of the person that you're talking to before you respond to them. And then the last thing I from a soft skills standpoint that I feel is important is flexibility. So the workplace is busy. It is completely full of distractions and competing priorities. What's at the top of your list at 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning falls right down to the bottom by 3 p.m. on Tuesday morning. So, there's just so much to do. Those kinds of things will frazzle you. And I try to encourage my daughters not to try and not let that frazzle them. And I try and work on that soft skill absolutely every day. But flexibility, because you will need to, I hate to use the word pivot because it's overused, but you will need to, shift your focus a lot. And so being agile and flexible is, I think, a critical soft skill.
Thank you. Really, really good. And I love that you brought up the emotional intelligence, right? Understanding yourself and also being able to understand the other person. I think that's something else that's talked about all the time now. And I think it's heightened even more to definitely that higher level because of what we've experienced over the last couple of years. So thanks for your perspective on that, Marcy. Mm-hmm. So Andrea, I'll go to you now. And you've already mentioned a number of reasons why employees would have joined your organization, but let's talk specifically about some of the reasons that employees come and work for you over other organizations.
So I went to my employees. I actually pulled 8 of my employees to ask them why did they join our organization? And their main draws were a family-run business, which Branthaven's core values are based on, loyalty that Branthaven shows to team members, contractors, consultants, and homeowners, a fair work-life balance, supportive managers, great team environment. This came right from one of ours. Branthaven has strong females in the leadership role, and we create an excellent product with great brand reputation. So those were, that kind of encompasses it, but.
Yeah, how nice is that, right? And so, so wonderful of you to go right to your employees and ask them. And what about reasons why employees may have left?
When employees leave, it almost always comes by me. I also am the head of HR at our corporation too, so I'm very involved in the hiring, offer letters, when people leave. A lot of the reasons, location change is often a factor, location change for them, the husband, or that it's been too far to travel. A lot of our industry is based east of us, and people, I'll sit in an interview and they'll go, well, no problem, I could drive from Acton. And I'm like, no, they can't. I can drive from Aurora. And you're like, 1 year, I give you 1 year and you're going to be gone. The people that are the most happy and have stayed the longest are in our circle. They about 40 kilometers in each direction, and then they stay the longest. Being a medium-sized builder, there's not always room for upward mobility. Sometimes you can go up and there isn't a spot. Sometimes they have to move to a bigger builder where they have multiple branches. Unfortunately for Branthaven, our people are often hunted as we teach our staff well and they're desirable to other companies. We try to retain them, but we don't stand in the way if they have a good opportunity offered to them. So sometimes they come back. So that's always good.
That's why you never burn a bridge.
Nope.
You never know if you want to come back, but really great comments there. And I think, so important to have those things anymore to retain employees and creating that really great environment for them. And you talked about, not necessarily that growth for employees to grow up within a company, and not a lot you can do about that. And so Jim, I'm going to turn to you kind of with that question to talk about, your company's strategy for that professional development and promotion opportunity and succession planning, because I think often, you know, potential employees are going to look at that and go, you know, where can I go once I get in?
Yeah, so excellent question. Multifaceted. There's a lot to touch on. So I'll start with the notion of just professional development. Our principle that we employ is that it's centered around the employee, and it's essentially creating an environment that empowers the employee to drive their own professional development. We work with them to establish individual development plans that we review with them 2 times a year. And we set targets, and we set individual plans and action plans. In terms of support, we allocate 40 hours of professional development you can put on your timesheet, charge it to professional development. So that's allocated to you to spend how you wish in the year. We have a corporate membership to a number of different online resources. LinkedIn Learning is one that we use pretty regularly, and we promote and encourage people to use that. We also establish $1,000 out of pocket for every employee if they want to take some other course that it's not available to them through the resources that we have available. There's up to $1,000 per person to spend on a leadership course or whatever, learning French, it doesn't really matter. And then we go beyond that, just outside the organization. We encourage our employees to be active in the industry. There are a number of professional organizations that we like to support as volunteer-based organizations: the Institute of Transportation Engineers, Transportation Association of Canada, and a number of others. We encourage our team to get actively involved, sit on committees, be an active member, present at conferences, and so there's support to do that. If your paper gets accepted, we support you attending the conference and making that presentation on your behalf as well as our behalf. And we recognize that there's benefit to the company as well for that. So that's sort of the individualized support. In terms of sort of growth within the organization, much like Andrea, we're a relatively small organization with a relatively fixed structure. There's not 30 job postings every week that you can look at. But we have recognized that it's time for us to move on, so to speak. I wish I had some of my graphics. We've got some really good graphics that show how we're intending how we've evolved over the years. So when we started back in 1998, with 3 of us, we were everything, right? Soup, chief, cook, and bottle washer. We did everything, including drive proposals to the client. And that's evolved now over time. And we have, like Andrea, a lot of our senior members have been with us quite some time. About 30% of our staff have been with us more than 10 years. And we've had a few that are almost 20 years that have been with us. So we've established now, sort of hiving off some of those responsibilities that the senior manager, the corporate leadership used to do, and we've established now a whole level of senior project managers so that we can now establish support structure for them. So it's just a constant evolution, and we've actually developed and formalized a management transition strategy and a succession plan. And we've spent about 2 years working on those documents and getting that all in place, and many late night meetings debating pros and cons of all of that. And we're now in the throes of actively pursuing that and implementing that. So we're kind of right at a very interesting nexus in our evolution.
Amazing initiatives and support that you have in place for your employees. I do want to mention before we go into the next question that there is a Padlet. So if you go into the chat, you can actually click on that. And if you want, you can put a question in there, or you can put comments in there if you want to be part of the conversation, and then we'll try to share those too. You can also put a question in the chat. But just to let you know, hopefully we'll have the time at the end, we get through the remaining of the questions. And if you've got specific questions, you'll be able to have the opportunity to ask at that point as well, and also to comment. So Lindsay, the next question is for you. And we hear this a lot now, that work-life balance, I think than ever, it is important now. People have really realized that they want that balance in their life. So what is Stelco doing to help their employees maintain that balance?
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate for that, but again, we're a 24/7 operation that cannot shut down. So it is a big challenge for us, and something that we recognize. So we're always looking for different ways to ensure that employees have that and flexibility when they need it the most. And again, we're unionized, so it's different for each group. So for our salary employees, they're usually more on a regular day shift pattern. So there's a bit more flexibility where they can work from home or have flexible hours if they've got things going on. We have a lot of people that like to coach hockey and things like that. So we need to have that flexibility so they can do that. And a lot of times with the salary group, we'll have them bank time so that they can, if they're working extra some days, they can take it off when they need it. So we try and do that with them. And then for our bargaining unit employees, a lot of them are on that shift pattern. They're the ones, that are doing a lot of the work. They're there all the time. So one of the things that we do is try and make sure that one, their schedules are consistent so they can plan their lives. And if we ever do change their schedule, we'll actually pay a premium on that first shift so that, it's a bit of our bad, we're sorry, enjoy this extra money because we had to change your schedule. And then one of the big things that we do as well is we give a vacation premium. So if somebody has a vacation scheduled, instead of just getting their normal vacation pay, they actually get a 20 to 25% usually premium on top of their regular vacation pay. So that it's a bit of a thank you, for the rest of the time that you have to work. Here's the extra benefit on that time. And then one thing to go along with that is we always try and hire summer students so that, our regular employees get the benefit of having that time off during vacation, the prime summer vacation months, as well as benefiting that student because, we do pay great summer student rates. So we give them that experience and give them that money. So that's one thing that we try and make sure is when employees are off and when they can be off, they're getting that bonus and they're guaranteed that time off in the summer.
Yeah, great initiatives. And it's that flexibility, like, how, and for those that are having to work certain hours, then what can you do to make them feel good so that it's a nice balance for everyone within the organization. And that can be difficult to accomplish. So it sounds like you're doing a really good job of that. Now, Maria, you talked a bit earlier about, surveys and feedback. And I think a lot of companies are doing this now. At Mohawk College, we've had several surveys go out throughout the pandemic just to see how people were doing. I think that's really important. So let's talk a little more in a little more depth about what RBC is doing in the sense of the process for employee recognition, as well as being able for employees to give feedback.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. One of the things that, strums up a lot of excitement, engagement at RBC is they have what they call an RBC employee recognition program. And what that is every single employee, leader, anyone has the ability to nominate online a peer, a leader, a stakeholder, a business partner for doing great work. And that nomination leads to them, both the nominee and the nominator receives what they call RBC points, like reward points. And they can go online to the RBC store and shop for really cool things and gift cards, Amazon cards, Timmy's cards, Starbucks cards, whatever, and other perfumes, gifts, luggage, like it just goes on and on. And this nomination is then put into a quarterly nomination pool, so you can get a quarterly win. And if you're a quarterly winner, you automatically get to go to the annual gala, which you have the possibility to, we haven't been doing it because of the pandemic, but to win a cruise or points that are equivalent to a cruise. So that's a really big thing for RBC, and something that is employee kind of led again, because they're on the nominating committees. They get to read all the nominations, and both employees and leaders will have some input as to how the best and most objective way to select folks are. So that's one way. We've really transposed a lot in the last 10 years and really have a lot of digital enablement. We have also what we call RBC Instant Thanks, another digital recognition program. So this would be just for smaller, everyday pieces of recognition, but it does go to that person, that individual's leader, and that leader's leader. You can direct it towards a community, but that just seems to go such a long way, and it's not leader-led necessarily. Leaders can nominate employees, but I would say probably 60% of the instant thanks come from employees recognizing a peer or a leader, a collaborative partner, or stakeholder. So that is one of our main forms of recognition. In terms of feedback, we do have an annual employee engagement survey, and that is a big ticket item for RBC because so much of our outcomes are based on these employee engagement numbers. So lots of forums. We're huge on coaching and feedback. They have what they call, daily practice management routines. And a big part of that is you have to have a coaching sort of log or feedback on some employee on a daily basis. So giving and receiving feedback is part of our DNA on a daily basis. So on both counts, that's kind of a little bit of a synopsis of how we do things.
Thank you. We are also, faced with a lot of discussion and ways to support and promote equity, diversity, and inclusion in the workplace. So, Andrea, I want to turn to you now and ask you if there's anything, interesting or unique that your organization is doing for EDI.
Well, we have a diverse group of staff, varying ages, backgrounds, men, women. We hire an inclusive company. We hire based on experience, abilities, attitude, ambitions. We have many women in the leadership positions at Branthaven. It's important in order to recruit even more women to construction. As one of our managers said, women get things done. And it is true because you balance everything in your life so you don't waste time on multiple meetings if something can be done quicker than that. There's still more we can do. The construction industry is already facing, as we said before, the construction industry is facing a staff shortage already. And with an aging skilled trade population, it's only going to get worse. We need to be convincing. We've talked about it. We're getting involved with City School. We've got other different initiatives. We like to hire co-op students, but that's already people who were convinced to come into this. We need to be working way earlier. We go to the high schools, it's not early enough. And something I'm finding, we need to convince youth when they're way younger, just all youth, that the skilled trades are a great thing to enter, and especially female youth. And another thing we need to overcome is their parents' idea that everybody needs a university education. Because as long as that continues to be the focus of where they're leading their kids, they're not going to come to these great opportunities. Somehow we're talking in our industry of how do we chip away at that? How do we go to the source of the parents and go, hey, wouldn't it be great? Here's an employee working this job. They've got a great job. And it's not a university job. It's not in an office. And you would be happy to have your child working this job and being able to earn a really good living and be able to buy a house and stuff like that. So it's what we're talking about in our associations and kind of grassroots within our company, trying to figure out how do we reach more people, because even if we solve the problems of not getting land fast enough through the pipeline to be able to build the houses. Even if they approved everything, we don't have the people to build them. So we need more people. So this is where our focus has to shift. I would like to see half of our finished techs on site be women. I would like to see women assistant supers and supers. I was a site super. I started as a laborer, worked on my way up, project coordinator, and then super, and then general manager. We're putting a push on to find more women who want to start their path in construction.
Well, I love the point you made that, I mean, it needs to go back to, you know, parents, letting their children know that this is a viable and great area to work towards and to be employed in. And I mean, I know there's lots of research too to support someone coming out of a skilled trade and going into that industry compared to someone who, you know, doesn't run a law firm, but goes into law. But after they pay back all their student loans and everything, they're not in a, like, financially, they almost break even. In those two fields, and just the opportunities that are available. But you're right, it's that elementary school level, right? It's not, as you said, to get to high school and it's almost too late, and sort of changing our perspective on the what women can bring to this field. So really good perspective there. Thank you for that. And you mentioned co-op placement, which I think is fabulous. This is something that, you know, we love at Mohawk College. And Marcy, I want to talk to you about what value that L3 Harris is doing when it comes to that work integrated learning.
Yeah, so at L3 Harris, we are all about bringing in the next generation of talent through partnerships like the one we have with Mohawk. We have students in current co-op placements right now in all facets of our business. So from engineering, supply chain, HR. Not only do these relationships help us move our business forward with temporary, fresh, and diverse ideas and perspectives, but it provides us with a pool of trained professionals to draw from once the student graduate. So it's win-win. We are hugely supportive of co-op placements. Used to have a summer student program. We don't have that at this time, but these work integrated learning opportunities are paramount to our success.
Excellent. Yeah, and just such a great opportunity for students to get that experience and that hands-on, and to, you know, go, hey, like, this is really cool, or maybe, you know, this isn't what I want to do, but there might be something else that they uncover while they're there.
That's right.
Jim, how do you see your company evolving in the future, and what advice would you give to new employees entering the workforce?
Yeah, so being involved in transportation planning in the transportation industry, I frequently say that we are one of the few industries that is heavily reliant on and impacted by external forces. There are a number of initiatives and are a number of groups and technologies that impact what we do on a daily basis. Some examples would include something like carbon neutral goals, where, you know, corporate or national policy directions to reduce reliance on private automobile will have a major impact on our industry, completely outside of our control. Restructuring the urban environment. There are many municipalities that are looking at how they build cities and where they want to go. Example would be in the region of Waterloo, where they've established a hard edge to the urban environment, and the city will not get any bigger than that line. And so then we're looking towards internal development. How does that look? It certainly doesn't look like the subdivisions of the 1950s. It looks totally different. So there's a complete rethinking of how we build our cities and what that looks like. And how do we support that? Active transportation. We're looking for shorter trips. We're looking for support for transit systems, first mile, last mile solutions, walking, cycling, scooters, other types of transport. It's all coming into play, and certainly in terms of technology. Interestingly enough, we've talked about work from home a fair bit, but prior to the pandemic, work from home was the fastest growing mode of transport in North America. So people had made that transition. So we're talking about trip replacement, just eliminating the need for travel by working from home. And of course, then on the technology front, things like connected and autonomous vehicles, driverless vehicles. It's here. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but the technology exists. They're already running transport trucks driverless. There was an experiment not that long ago, a 200-mile trip in Colorado where they delivered a tractor trailer load of goods. So that type of technology then completely changes how we view the transportation system. Most of our systems are built on the notion of a peak hour or a peak period trying to accommodate that demand. There are many hours of the day where the transportation system is completely underutilized. And if we had autonomous vehicles driving about in the middle of the night, delivering goods and services or goods to places, it would change the way we view and the way we perceive our needs for the system. So there's a lot of external forces that are going to impact our industry. How they play out, anybody who tells you they know what the answer is, it's not telling the truth, because I don't think anybody knows what it means for us. Specifically with respect to our business, our goal right now, as I mentioned, is to be selfishly just implementing our management transition plan that we talked about and our succession plan. Everyone gets into consulting to get out. You start a business to leave. You don't want to take it with you. So that's our mission right now in terms of paradigm itself. And my advice to people entering the industry, pretty short and sweet. I say this to everybody who listen. Always be curious and be a lifelong student. Never stop learning. Keep your eyes and ears open. You never know where the next opportunity will present itself, and be ready.
Great words. Does anyone else want to, before we go to some questions from the audience, does anyone want to comment on that piece right there? I think any advice that you want to give to new employees entering the workforce? Andrea.
I have one, as I see, the Branthaven Careers mailbox drops into below my mailbox. And so I see all the resumes that come through. And I would say a couple pieces of advice. Be confident in your abilities. Make sure they stand out. Be aware of what company you're applying for, and try and say what you could do for them. So not just a blanket, but what makes your company where I want to work? What could I do for you? And the other thing is your side skills. As a younger person coming into it, you have many skills that I, 36 years in this business, do not have. So I cannot work Photoshop very well. I cannot make a beautiful handout. And so if you make sure you pepper your resume with those skills that you could do, experience with the Instagram, those things, you go, great, I could hire somebody as an administrator, and they can do this too. That's interesting, and listen around the business if you do get hired to what's going on and what you go, I can do that. The other thing is, if you come on a co-op term, you'll get a lot of learning, you'll get a lot of scut jobs, but ask to be at the table for some of the meetings. They will have no problem. Most companies will say, yeah, sure. They're heading off to a meeting with all kinds of consultants. You go, can I be a fly on the wall in that meeting? I'd like to hear how this all works, and try and get the most out of your co-op term.
Great. We have about 5 questions, so and 20 minutes left. Maria, did you have some last minute comments you wanted to make on this one?
For sure. Just from an RBC perspective, I'll say we've evolved and really remaining digitally focused and adaptive. So anyone applying, make sure that somehow you highlight your digital aptitude, including your use and impact on social media forums. I would say make sure you do your research, study the company, the platform, the strategy, headlines relating to the company, read up on the news, as thoughtful questions really do matter. in relation to the business and how you present yourself in those first meetings and interview. And the final thing I'll say is just know your personal brand. What is uniquely different about you? What are you bringing to the table that is successfully only about you and tied into the relation of the company's goals and strategies? Because the first impressions, they really do matter. And it's really important to know your own personal brand.
Yeah, great advice. So I'm going to interpret this question, and I'm going to say, when it comes to, so the question is, what one book do you recommend to read for the audience? So I'm going to say, when it comes to kind of like a business perspective, we'll start there. Or if you've just got a really good book you want to share, by all means, you can throw that out too, because I'm not sure which they're looking for here, but it just says you have one book to recommend to the audience to read. What would it be? Does anyone have one and I would say, yeah, I think along the career path side of things. Lindsay?
Yeah, I got lots, but it depends on where you are in your career. I think most people are likely starting out. So I think one of the big ones for me was Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I think it helped me, you're going to have days that suck. You're going to have days that are awesome. And I think if you have that why to always go back to, it helps you on those bad days. It helps you on the good days to know why you're doing it and what it's for. And I think that's been really important. But really, anything by Simon Sinek, Brené Brown, there's a lot of good authors out there. So that's my take.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent suggestions, and good videos from Simon as well to watch. So inspirational. I love listening to him. So thank you for that. And then, for students that are here, if you are interested in reading, someone passed on the information that Mohawk does have a book club through our Mohawk Student Association. So, and that's a great thing too, because you just never know what you're going to come across, and the discussions you have around various books will open your mind up as well. It's a great way to meet people. So this next question is, how are you dealing with the challenge of price increases during the time for cost of supplies like lumber and steel? So Andrea, Lindsay, and anyone else who can sort of talk about this. Yeah, how do you deal with the challenges of price increases?
It's massively challenging. It's creating basically profits that were there are not there anymore. But we have contracts with people and we have to meet those. So it's we are facing price increases where usually you would have a contract run for at least a year and there'd be no price increase. And now they're calling us and going, well, nope, we have to do this. You do the best negotiating you can, but we have to keep moving forward. But the house prices of the houses we are selling now are wildly above what we were selling 2 years ago. It's come into the industry, and it is there. They're between there not being enough people and there not being enough products. We're getting hit on both sides. So you do the best you can, you make the best quotes you can, but you do have to, eventually it has to show up in the price of your product. So
yeah, that ripple effect.
Yeah, I guess in terms of steel, for us, we have the advantage of we can, there's lots of different prices. So we had the advantage of that, but we're always a very lean operation. So we're always looking at costs. We're always looking at ways of doing things better so that no matter what economic environment we're in, we're successful, because we owe it to our employees to ensure that we've got that company running and doing things. So there's lots of different levers, and we've got a lot of great people, men, women, engineers, all across the board that are dedicated to watching our costs and making sure that we keep those low so that we can survive in the lean times and thrive in the good times.
Yeah, the supply chain real ripple effect happening right now, and we're going to continue to see that. So thank you for that perspective. Do you think onboarding as a new employee in today's environment can be more challenging in a virtual world than it would be onboarding in person And are there any specific onboarding initiatives your company has done for newer employees that can help? Great question. Maria.
That's an excellent, yeah, that's an excellent question. And so, yeah, we hire a lot of people. In fact, on an annual basis, we hire 1,600 co-op students, both full-time and summer employment. And so we are leading the way virtually with our interviews. And I found that it's not exactly the same as face-to-face, but it's almost there, because you get everything. You can see. An auditory type interview would not cut it, but when we're seeing impressions, we're seeing their state of readiness or not. We're seeing how they're presenting themselves. And so it's been very great. We've had fantastic hires, and we can see and feel you through the WebEx cameras, and it's pretty effective. So yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on that one?
I'll jump in, Linda.
Well, Marcy, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we've recently implemented a new onboarding program called Peer. So it's really partnering employees with another employee so that they actually learn the real ropes of the job once they start. So it's a new initiative. We have the peer who is assigned to that employee or new employee reach out to them with, in conjunction with their new leader to set up a scheduled start time for them to come into the office. I know your question talked a little bit about virtual onboarding, but in our environment, we like you to come in, get a badge, get the lay of the land, meet your team if the team is around, participate in some meetings, but really spend a good 30, 60, 90 days with a fellow employee who will really show you the ropes of the business. So, and it seems to be working really well.
Yeah, that's a great plan. Great ideas being shared. Next question was, a lot of companies are saying the hybrid work model will still be used as restrictions lift. Do you think this work model will become a permanent aspect of your company? I see a lot of nodding heads. I mean, I think that's right across the board. I don't think, I'd be shocked if any company went back to the way things were before the pandemic. I really do believe, and you can add to this as well, but that this is showing us that we can work from home. We can be effective. We can work pretty much from wherever, if our position and place within a company allows for that. But also that flexibility in the work environment. Andrea, you talked about this a lot, and so did Lindsay. Well, everyone did really, depending, if you're a shift worker or whatever hours you have to work, then how do you balance that out for people? So I do think that hybrid work model will be a permanent aspect of many companies, but I'll throw that out to each of you. Jim.
Yeah, I would just take it even one step further. I don't know if too many people are familiar with the term, the Great Resignation, but it's
Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, great to talk about.
Yeah, but it's happening in the U.S. in particular as they implement this mandated back to office sort of environment where many of the folks are just saying, we've just lived through 2 years where we've been able to be effective and conduct our business and do what we need to do from a remote environment, and the notion that you must be in an office in downtown Toronto to perform your duties, it runs a little thin for a lot of folks. And so there's a lot of pushback in the industry, and there are people that are out there taking advantage of it. So I would say for sure, this is with us permanently.
Yeah.
I just, I'll wander onto Twitter topics, and you just go through the comments, and sometimes you just get in there. I wanted to take it over to my VP of home builder operations, because he's very much like, we need to get back together, we need to get back in. And I wanted to take him this entire comments. There was not one that said they wanted to go back to an office. There was not one. Every single one said the reason that they're trying to foist this on us is they have all these empty buildings, and they need to understand that we're not coming back to their empty buildings, and we're not, the shop owners that are around them that they're trying to put on us as guilt that we're not supporting them. That's not our problem, you know. But so it's interesting, like there's a very strong sentiment, and I think as a business you have to tread lightly. Like we are trying to make people understand that there's a lot of the stuff in our that, you know, there's samples, there's this, there's that you got to touch and feel, you got to see. So we want some collaboration, our marketing materials, all of that. We want some collaboration. We want some people together for 3 days a week. But yeah, we understand you don't want to be here every day, and you also get interrupted, and you also get distracted, and some working from home means full focus, especially when the kids are back in school, full focus on your stuff. That, yeah, we should encourage that, because that means you're getting more effective work done. So it's definitely a balance. There are, though, bosses who feel that if the heads aren't in the seats looking like they're working, they can't be working. Mm-hmm. So it's a re-education. I mean, Jim, you've been doing it for years. Yeah. Looking at all your employees, making sure they work, you know, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. And I think the other part of it too, that even maybe people who say, I want to work from home, you know, 5 days a week, but maybe it's because they're in a company like yours, Jim, where there's lots of engagement and social opportunities for those employees, because I think that that's the piece that we don't recognize yet. As someone who's been working from home for 2 years, how much we've missed that until we're back and we actually can connect with people again. And yeah, you're right, Andrea, it won't be 5 days a week, but you're going to see, I think that people who think they want to work from home full time, depending on their environment, and some environments won't have that, but you know, working at Mohawk, I can't wait to get back. I love seeing those students in our hallways and the buzz and running into colleagues. You know, will it be 5 days a week? Likely not, but it'll be some, and I think that that'll lift a lot of spirits. So there's that to look forward to as well. And as we, you know, over the next number of months, come into what that is actually going to look like, right? 6 months from now, a year from now, what will that work environment be? So I got one last question, and this one actually is specifically for you, Marcy. It says, for your co-op students, what qualities are you hoping they have coming in, and what qualities do you hope they develop as they work with you? I love that. Great question.
That is a great question.
Yeah.
So coming in, I think, and I'm going to speak for the hiring managers. They're looking for enthusiasm, and you know, the not afraid to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. It's a busy place. I mean, I'm just speaking from my own experience. The day starts and all of a sudden it's 4:30 and you feel like you know, just got there. So we're looking for, you know, people that are willing to jump in and really put what they're learning in school into practice. What do we hope they leave with? Hopefully they leave with, you know, the willingness to return once they graduate from school. They've left with new networks, you know, new relationships, new skills, practical experience that, and especially in our environment, we make a really cool product and we design a really cool product. And so for them to see that and get their hands on it and really, you know what it does, I think that entices people to return. So that's kind of what I'd say in a nutshell.
Thank you. Well, thanks everyone. You know, if I didn't love working at Mohawk so much, would love to come work with any one of you and your companies. I'm telling you, you've really shown us, right, like what a work environment can be and the importance of providing that to employees. And then you get a lot out of your employees as well by being that, you know, employer that does care and gives opportunity and shows them that they mean something to you. I talked to a career person out west recently who just talked about what employees are looking for is appreciation. And I think you've all shown through your conversation tonight that you do appreciate your employees, and that will go a long way. So thank you all for that. And I'm really happy because we'll get a chance now to hear from one of our students at Mohawk College. Ariel Taverden is a second semester computer engineering technology student, and she's got some closing remarks to give. Ariel.
Thanks, Linda. So first I want to say I apologize if I'm skipping or cutting out. Rural Wi-Fi is really not benefiting me today. But like Linda said, my name is Ariel and I'm in the Computer Engineering Technology and Mechatronics program, and I am a student member of WIT. So I really want to say how insightful and informative this was. As a student, I'm really, really thankful to get an inside view of the workplace. On behalf of the WIT student members, I would like to extend a thanks to all the people who helped make this possible. So first of all, we have our amazing panelists. We have Andrea Peckart from Branthaven Homes, Lindsay Anderson from Stelco, Jim Mallett from Paradigm Transportation, Maria Holland from RBC, and Marcy Bastien from L3 Harris. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here tonight and to openly share all of this valuable information with us. I'd also like to thank our moderator, Linda Rourke, for being here tonight and facilitating such an awesome discussion. A major thanks to Liz Fabbroni Martin for taking the time out of her busy schedule to give such stellar opening remarks. And a huge, enormous thanks to RBC and Maria Holland for their support, not only with this event, but with so much of our programming. Thank you to Lucas Robinson, Carla Hall, and Chelsea Maxwell for planning the event and doing such great work organizing with our panelists and taking care of just about everything. I'd also like to give a shout out to our ASL interpreters for doing such a great job tonight. And of course, thank you to everyone here for attending today and supporting our virtual programming. We're really grateful for all of you being here and we couldn't do it without you.